Won't forget strong conversations today as the Institute for Governance Reform, IGR, will be commissioned by the Ghana Anti-Corruption Commission Coalition for conduct a comprehensive study from 2019 to 2021 to explore strategies for mobilizing civil society to enhance the implementation of the audit recommendation inside education, health sector inside Sierra Leone. So one for discuss this because it's very important, more especially if one for see the country develop. These are areas we need for looking into the health, the education. So if we strengthen areas and ensure say they're able to deliver, then we can get reward at the end. So for let's talk on this, I get to me Justice Mohammed Ganawa from IGR. Ganawa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I get with me the madam from Ghana, Beauty Imafa. Sorry if I get the name right. You know, the executive secretary from Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. It's a civil society organization where they monitor on issues surrounding the fight against corruption in different sectors. Yes. Welcome to the show, madam.
Thank you for having me.
You're always welcome. So I'm going to start off with you, madam, for obvious reasons. So you want to give us the background, where it all started, that prompted you guys to come to Sierra Leone, to see how best you can able to enhance the implementation process of a key sectors in Sierra Leone, the education and as well the health facilities in Sierra Leone.
Okay, thank you very much. And good afternoon to your viewers. The Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, we are a unique cross-sectoral grouping of the public sector, private sector, and civil society groups with the sole aim of confronting issues of corruption and also empowering citizens to be able to assert themselves when it comes to the fight against corruption. Because knowledge is important for citizens. If you want citizens to participate, then you need to empower citizens. You need to help them to understand and appreciate the need for them to fight corruption. So as part of our work, we've done a lot when it comes to building citizens' understanding of anti-corruption laws. We've also invested time and energy into understanding some of the public service deliveries that public are supposed to get from the public sector. And we, as part of our work, we realized that when we cannot fight corruption, when auditing is not effectively done. When you talk about auditing in the public sector, it's mandatory for annual audits to be conducted. And as part of the annual audits, the Auditor General issues a report. And that report has recommendations and also indicates some of the misappropriations, misapplications of funds in the Auditor General's report. And when we turn our attention to that process, we realize that when it comes to the Auditor General's recommendation, the issues that come, the institutions don't address them. It is left there and it keeps appearing in the Auditor General's report every year. So we realize that we need to have an innovative approach to encourage the public sector to commit to implementing the recommendations of the Auditor General. And this is what we did. We started working with the municipalities, so we call them MMDAs, which is the Municipal Metropolitan District Assemblies. And when we started working with them, we piloted it and we realized that it was encouraging. Some of the issues that come up, they could by themselves be able to address them, but they are not addressed. And when we started working with them, we saw improvement, and that helped us to now expand with some of our members and other stakeholders to look at 50 district assemblies. So we worked with 50 district assemblies in Ghana for 5 years to help them to see how they can increase the implementation of the recommendations of the Auditor General. And as part of that process, we had a baseline of 34% about implementation of the recommendations. When we started, and by the time we finished with that project in 5 years, the implementation had gone to 81%. So that's clearly is an evidence that when you work with the public sector and you encourage them and you support them, they are able to do what they need to do. And that is why we always encourage active citizenship in what we do, because we cannot leave governance alone as citizens. We cannot just say that governance should be on their own. So as part of that process, now coming to Sierra Leone, while we are in Sierra Leone, we also realize that what is happening in Ghana may not be too different in the sub-region. And as part of that, we got funding from OSIWA, which is the formerly now OSF Africa, to support us to see how we can pilot 2 other countries in the West Africa sub-region to see how we can also put together the evidence we have seen in Ghana and then compare that evidence in other 2 countries. Unfortunately, we're able to get Sierra Leone and Benin. Benin is Francophone, which is the first Francophone country we are implementing a project in. And with Sierra Leone, we've done projects in Sierra Leone before with the World Bank support. So we've worked with civil society in Sierra Leone on contract monitoring. So this was not too new a space. And we were also fortunate to have IGR. So because also we looked at the CSOs in Sierra Leone, their capacity in terms of the issues on audit. And we saw that IGR has a good track record when it comes to audit. So then it begs the question that they will be a good CSO to work with. Because we also always talk about sustainability. We don't just want to come, start work, and then when funding completes and we leave, then it ends the project. We want continuity, and we thought that IGR was already in that frame. So once we have this partnership and collaboration, even when the project ends, we are confident that IGR will continue with this. So that is how we came to Sierra Leone, and that's how we came to IGR. And I must say that it was a good thing we came. We've realized that we need to work more in the sub-region because it's evidently our issues are kind of the same, and we can collaborate and work better, and also learn and share in terms of the space.
I see you guys pay key attention into 2 institutions or ministries in Sierra Leone, the education sector and the healthcare sector. We know over the years there has been this challenge with regards to the audit report, people look into it and implement what is into the audit report. Like you mentioned, the audit will come this year and then they will audit that there is no water here, and then when they come back, there will still be no water because people are not implementing what the audit are doing. But why do you guys decided to pay care attention into the education sector and the healthcare?
Okay, so when you take these 2 sectors, education and health, these are the crucial public service delivery institutions that impact on every citizen. And they impact on us in so many ways. When you look at education, education impacts on everybody. So whether once you are in the country, education impacts on you in your everyday life. At the same time, health also does the same. And if you even look at the investment of our budget, a good chunk of our budget and donor support goes into education and health because of their importance to citizens. So every citizen would have an impact in these 2 sectors. And we think that if we are promoting active citizenship, the sectors that we choose should be sectors that connect with citizens, should be sectors that citizens can see and appreciate the value addition to them, so that when service delivery improves in education, you are confident that your child can get the quality education. When government invests 100 million lius in education, you are confident that when you put your child in school, the 100 millions would be applied to support your child's education. The same way, we are confident that when 100 million is allocated to health and is disbursed to health, health should be able to use that prudently and account for it in a way that when you go to the hospital, you can have quality, good care. So these two sectors are sectors that everybody can immediately have was an interaction with. So there's no way that you be in Sierra Leone and say that you never engage with health or you never engage with education. If you don't directly, indirectly, somebody related to you would be impacted in that. And even when you look at the history, and I want to touch on this briefly, you know what happened with Ebola funds. And we all know the Ebola support and all that. So if that was handled and there was internal controls and things were done accordingly, it would have given the citizen value for money. You know, there wouldn't be misappropriation of funds, and we wouldn't be talking about that Ebola history, which unfortunately we have also seen transcending in COVID funds. So it means that as citizens, these key sectors should be important. So I'm not saying the other sectors are not important, but these are sectors that are impacting, and a lot of resources go there, and citizens should get value for every loan that is invested in those two sectors. And that is why we want to start with that, and maybe later we can expand to the other sectors. Yes.
Okay, I'll come back to you.
Thank you,
Madam. So let me bring in Ganawa into the conversation from IGR. And, you know, locally, I will also say now challenge more, especially for the institutions them or ministries them implement within audits, you know, the pool and do. More especially when it comes into the implementation process or, you know, funding, things that we them for account for. Even though the report could all say, now this and this they've looked into, but the next year report also can point out into that same things that the auditor say last year. But with this project, how we hope to achieve more, especially before we can look into the key findings, them, the reason, and also you know, with not the stubborn blocks, you know, we seem for the affect progress, more especially into the two ministries then we're not target.
Alright, so good afternoon, the people of this country and all that they watch me. So the question what you ask, waiting to make we get this continuous repeat of the audit recommendations here. Waiting they ask, waiting they recommend last year, they recommend this year, they recommend the other year. So I think say we get key things away responsible for them things here. I think one key thing now regards leadership. You know, when you get a sober leader in any institution, now even a slap on your face for like lay you the heads on side every year, then they say you know do X, Y, Z, internal control system weak, so many cash loss every year they recommend the same things you're waiting for do you allow one day they happen. So now one key A and one day. And another thing again, to me personally I can say now one reason they make you know they get too much uptake in audit recommendations and the independence of the internal audit. You know, the internal audit of any institution, if you be independent and you get the power and authority for really do their work, when audit services alone they go for go audit any of the institutions, they don't get better thing for them because all things go there. I remember some time where I be work as an auditor. I get institutions and where they go audit, I get less work for them, but you get some way they go for go work. You get so much for them because literally everything mix up. You get for give the recommendations year in, year out. So I think the internal control mechanism of any institution will purely be managed by the internal audit should be what independent and for giving that power. So then they're able to call people and to book when they do well. Another key thing again is that you know Motorman, as long as you know say not power not the way the Olam, you know to say the status quo not the same. I do this, my ministry account for 10 billion loss. Nothing will happen. They just talk about no more, forget about it. The other year back, you know, say every human being in this world, if the only way can make it 10 for really work very well, understand how you know say checks and balance So because they notice say this thing can just they out, no naming and shaming not even happen. You can just no more 1, 2, 3 days, everybody forget about it. And that's they also give a room for let people and continue for be laggard about what they do. And another one way to me, again, I can say now it's about you, the mortal man, the soberness. You know, let's forget about leadership and being independent. I'm working for a particular ministry. It should be a shame on myself, my family, and my generation for like I didn't say so mess up they happen. It's a big slap. One long go school, and when they give you job, not a favor you do for the country. Now the country give you favor because other people they want the same job you want and qualify like you. So if they give you this job, your responsibility now for ensure that you work in the interest of the country. You cannot be in that office, things you go awry, then you so comfortable. So we, the Sierra Leoneans, we the human beings, and we all the work for the public sector. The same Salomon we go work in the public sector, repetition of audit recommendations, and then they do nothing. That same Salomon you put in the private sector, a top notch. So that they show you say the entire thing here is not just about the leadership. Even we as individuals, we Sierra Leoneans, we self get to own problems. People who work at the institutions here. And another thing again for wrap them up for this particular one, the area of consistency in what we refer to as the disbursement of funds. You know, we get some of the recommendations in terms of service delivery, where some services will not be delivered on time. You know, we country, Ministry of Education, they get like 22% of the budgetary allocation. Then health, they get 11%. We put them together at 33%, huge amounts one day on paper, but check the disbursement. At times, you know, they get all the disbursement them, and even in areas where say they get the disbursement, you know, they get it on time. We get ministries and we're up till now not able to receive the second quarter subvention. How they able for implement? So that's the even impede on the area of service delivery. Because if you need to attend to a particular case now, money no day, auditors then come, they know say you beyond put under your budget. Yeah. Because one thing there about every ministry, you go to refer to as budget line expensing. So always thinking another side way for undertake in terms of undertaking the expense. When auditor come, they ask you why not been do this. You need to get a valid reason. Then at times some of them reasons they make too much sense to the auditors because auditor not can work which funds, they just can't work as waiting day as a valid something. Then because the funds so they can be on time, at times can they funds away day for other thing, then can sit down at the ministries in their own inclination and say, no, let we just decide for put some money into this one here because this seems to be important now. But the funds actually not so fundamental. Auditor get issue with that because the funds were not given. If you have for do now, you need for go through processes wherein at management if I agree say management and paper for day for support why wanna choose for wanna take them sort of expenses and so basically when you take all of them things here, now them reasons and this will make you find out say we get the repetitions here of audit recommendations every other year.
Yes, that not the issue like you mentioned, but also with regards to the process, that key findings we in a notice say not the big challenge in the way we seem for the roll back in terms of ministries or agencies them for implement audit reports for looking to and ensure say in turn they able forget their recommendations they are done. And I think that was last year or so audit reports. We'll find out say some implementation with the audit we make, some ministries able for do it, but bulk of them still able for go through along that. Yeah. But waiting at the findings, waiting at things and the lapses, waiting for the effects reports. You don't point to that few. Yeah. But I know there are key findings with regards to that.
So I think one major thing here, you know, we get to refer to as I want to use the word say recklessness in the hands of some of the public officials. You know, I can say for work for the public sector, it's easy for B than for work for the private sector. The public sector gets what we refer to as key guidelines. They get things they call like we the Christians and they say Bible, the Muslims and they say Quran, and then they follow religiously. Then get the Public Procurement Act. Then they get the Public Financial Management Act. These two things, all the things you for do as a public servant, where they manage the fiduciary component. Now, them things here, you just need to follow them, hook, line, and sinker. If they say procurement, you should follow 3 processes. That is to say, if you bid, you forget at least 3 people, and we say the bid for them, understand? Then you just go, you just take them. Not in the way the guide you follow, you do soul sourcing. When I will just say, David, do them for me. I can't just give. That means I look at the regulations clearly stated that they choose for ignore just because I want to forgive David this time, party, I decide to say at the jam. So when you look at landing, I want we get disregard to public documents and who for the use for carry out your responsibilities. And another bottleneck again are the issue of capacity. You know, like we go down to the local councils. Even though from the outreach yesterday, we don't understand, say, some of the ministries already do it, like education. World Bank gets a project we then support for train people in terms of the audit committees that we then get for let them improve on their capacity. Because each of the institutions get audit committees. We then audit committees and then they help in making sure the things that will happen, they happen at the organization. And these are independent people who devoid the people who work at the institution. So if we get this capacity building here, a really up and running, I think that will even help in making sure and people able to do their work. And another thing again, they say now that they give them some incentive. Because at times, me a professional, I get my job, you say like I go in an audit committee, with all the experience, if you love for country, I will go and do them. But some people not get too much love for country. They want something for serve as an incentive. If we incentive there for them committee members, even though them plenty all over, because each and every MD gets them committees here. But at the end of the day, if it's something we just serve as an incentive for them, that could also help in making sure that they are proactive. And another thing again are the issue, as I mentioned, leadership just now, the issue of involvement. You know, internal controls, nothing very simple for utilize if people are all objective and they work in the interest of the objective for which the organization they exist. So when I say internal control now, for example, something they will be to say we need for do money, we need for make some payment. If we for make them payment here, the thing say somebody do it for prepare. Somebody they will be to say they approve them, then somebody they will say, okay, no, make the payment. If now we three need for sign on that particular document, but because me get my own ulterior motive, I'm the boss, I decide to say no, me want just to take this decision here. And again, you get the internal audit for the involved into each and every stuff we do within the organization when it comes to fiduciary issues. If you involve them, then get the expertise. You, the minister or the head of the organization, might not have the required expertise because everybody goes to try again expertise. But if you involve them and you make them become so useful and make them become people who already consider themselves as key stakeholders in running the affairs of the MDAs there, you find out say then always give positive input. We will reduce the pressure on the level of audits, them recommendations so they come up here in. And another thing again, when we talk of implementation, we go to refer to as people and the disregard for implementing some of their recommendations. Because they know say if they implement some of their recommendations, the leakages then will be blocked. You know, people want for thief. Corruption there now, most people in system. So because they want for be corrupt, then they always look at a situation wherein if I adhere to this audit recommendation, I decide for make sure internal control really they up and running, I don't get way for like liable for the do me own underhand things. So that's again another thing. Now the way I can say and the personal or the self or the subjectivity objective of the person, wherein everything about her they look at say if I do this, I stop these blockages and these leakages now. Waiting they happen to me now at the beginning they waiting eat. Waiting for the eat, I'm not able for eat again simply because I don't lock them things in it. So the other key finding again where you will see that the issue of we the citizens. You know, we know the old people and we did at the public sector to account. You know, we should be holding these people to account. Therefore, be able for get checks and balance when they get from we. But this and the issue where Auntie talk about, we talk about capacity. People should understand. You know, we come to get a culture. Something happened today. When the audit report come on, the last one it was 162 billion. Then I'll be the cash loss. That particular day, 1 day, 2 days, we sing I remember Kana TV. Within that TV, I think the other day, something happened. All man forget about time, we concentrate on Andy. So it means a lot for country for kind side. Wherein we the CLunians and the CSOs will get a lot for do because we say for capacity need for be improved. We get so many of we players that we don't understand some of even the processes of audit. But if we get more people, waiting me Ghana then they 1,000 miles ahead of we now, then they 81% as average. We still lay around 40-something% as average now because they get more CSOs on board. Now you look at audit talk now, IGR, the champion, and ban self-income. But most of the other one, they know they talk about that. And this is one critical thing where they look at value for money. We couple we say it go for able forget value for it. Not only anything happen to any Sierra Leone, and they want for go Ghana, they want for go Nigeria, for go get medical and treatment. So that some of the key things in this way, I think say they serve as a stumbling block or bottlenecks for the implementation of audit reports.
Okay, I'll come back to Ghana. I'll bring Madam Pinty into the conversation. The area of transparency and accountability is very important.
Yes.
And Ghana, mentioned it, and he spoke about what needs to be done in that area. And if we want to get things right, we should be able to pay key attention into that. So what we should be doing now, in order to ensure that we have people to be able to be transparent and accountable in doing their stuff, more especially when it comes into issues that we should be able to do and get things right. Receiving fund, and you should be able to implement what the funds is meant for, and able to get things right, and those who are supposed to benefit from it, able to get it.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. So I would like to start from the citizens before I come to the institutions. Our observation is that good governance has pillars of transparency, accountability, but it also has one key pillar, which is participation. And participation may not always be given. So even though citizens know that technically there should be participation, but participation sometimes or most times is challenged in our development process. How are citizens engaging in the development process? I observed the Sierra Leone elections, the last elections, and which is not too different from Ghana. When it's about elections, we see energy, we see passion of citizens. People even wake up at dawn, some even go and queue, long queues to nominate or vote, vote for their preferred candidate. After elections, those whose preferred candidate win, they jubilate by showing their excitement. But the truth is, we wait for another election cycle. So in between the two election cycles, what happens to citizens? Citizens go to sleep. So we have, our constitutions clearly has given us the power as citizens. Our constitutions, we use that power to appoint or elect leaders. And then we go to sleep and allow them to do whatever they want to do until the next election cycle. That is when people who are disappointed will say, well, we are going to show them where power lies. We are using our term to prove to them that we are powerful citizens. In between the elections, we need citizens to be active in the governance space. For citizens' active participation, it requires a lot. It requires citizens to now ask for accountability from duty bearers. So you have given somebody power. That person needs to account how they use the power within the process. So we don't wait for another election to now say we are voting out candidates because they didn't meet our expectation. And that's why I use the example of when we allow citizens to engage in the process and work with the authorities, the local authorities, we saw improvement in the implementation of the public, the Auditor General recommendations. So until citizens come in the middle, until citizens see themselves as the power holders, we will always have challenge with development. And for me, that narration should be, we consistently encourage citizens to be interested in our development and to hold duty bearers to account. Then on the flip side has to do with governance. Governance should be supply and demand driven. When it comes to accountability, people in government or in governance should know, especially people who have been voted for, that the people they account for are the citizens. So in terms of accountability, they need to account to those citizens by making
that
things.
a big challenge?
It is. It has always been, because when it comes to issues of information, sometimes it's difficult. And even the media, Ghana, it took us over 20 years to be able to get the Right to Information Bill passed. Governments come in, they go, promising lip service. It had to take us even to the point of demonstrating to have Right to Information Bill passed, because that is where citizens will get information. And we sometimes have to go to court to demand information. We shouldn't be. But fortunately, we have the right to information, and we are looking at what we call proactive disclosures. And proactive disclosures means that institutions should already preempt what information they should be giving to citizens and make them available. Don't wait for a citizen to come and ask for you. Now we are in the information technology age. Every public institution has websites. Every information that citizens will require, just put it there. They don't need to even write to request for those information. That is what we call proactive, and that is accountability. So if I need information from you and I can't get it, it means that you are not being accountable to me as a citizen. That's why we encourage proactive disclosure. And for me, it is very important. Aside that, the issue of, you talked about transparency and accountability. So that's why I was talking about the information and all that. But embedded in accountability also means that when you are in public service, you are giving funds and you utilize that funds, you are accountable to the citizens. And where you misapply the funds or misappropriate the funds, there should be sanctions, and sanctions should be applied. But what we have seen over the years is that people do wrong and they get away with it. And that is why in Ghana, we were fortunate to have CSOs test what the Auditor General's mandate of surcharge and disallowance is. They had to go to court. And the courts granted the relief that, yes, the Auditor General is supposed to do a surcharge and disallowance. And when we say surcharge and disallowance, surcharge means that you took public funds, you use it in a way that you shouldn't have used it. You'll be surcharged to pay for that money. And even if it means adding profit to what you took. So, for instance, if the bank money was in the bank, it may, in a savings account, it may attract interest. But the fact that you took it, you have shortchanged the country. So you need to pay some interest on the money. So that becomes a surcharge. So you are surcharged. And our former Auditor General, even the current one, are pushing for that. After the CSOs got that, the court to give that ruling. Beyond that, what we talk about the disallowance. Disallowance means that when there's a payment that the Auditor General feels that this is not a payment that government should pay, it is disallowed, so you will not be paid. So if the Auditor General is not able to apply this surcharge and disallowance mandate, which for us is a way of scrutinizing, is a way of recovering stolen funds, then it means that people are taking advantage of the system. Aside that, we also have the Anti-Corruption Commission. We have the Office of the Special Prosecution, which is similar to what you have, Anti-Corruption Commission. And we also have the Commission for Human Rights, also has some mandate in the fight against corruption. We want to see some proactiveness in also prosecuting people. So it should not be enough that you will pay when you misappropriate. Misappropriation is a criminal offense because you have cheated the system and you have taken money that does not belong to you. It's a criminal offense, and you should be prosecuted. So we shouldn't just leave it to the fact that, oh, we have been able to retrieve the money. If we don't apply sanctions where people have to, if it's jail term, they have to fill jail term. Some people, even 1 day in jail for some people is enough deterrent.
So even though you've paid the money and the money you've been accused upon, and then you've paid that money, you should be able to. They should also take it to serve.
It is not enough, because the point is, if I take this money and buy this drink today, tomorrow the value for this will not be the same as I bought it, right? So meaning, if I was supposed to supply this drink, I have shortchanged the system. Now, if you ask me to pay back the money, I have paid the money, you have recovered the money. But what prevents me from going back again to repeat that same offense? I hope you understand me. So the point is,
lesser.
I could still go and do it the same, because I know the point is, at worst I will be asked to pay. That is if I am found. Let's bear in mind that even auditing is not 100%.
Yeah.
Especially, mostly we have financial audits. We don't do performance audits to really scrutinize things. So recoveries, yes, so it may not be enough. We need to go beyond just recoveries to also, it's about deterrence. So when one person is caught, let's show deterrent that this is not something that other people should engage in. And that is why in the fight against corruption, we look at naming and shaming as one good way of fighting corruption. We also look at sanctioning by prosecuting. And if it means that jail term is applied, it's also a good way to fight corruption. So we think that we shouldn't just leave it at recovery, we should punish people. And then I also want to add this quickly. When Mr. Ganawa was explaining about the challenges, when he was talking about the systems, one key institution that we have realized, especially in the continent, that we have not invested a lot of energy in is internal audit. And unfortunately for us, like he said, the things that come up in internal audit always are repeated in external audit. So it also means that as people who are into development, if we are serious about these issues, we should also seriously invest in internal audit, because we talk about prevention, and that's why you need to put in systems and checks and balances to even prevent. As I was talking about, when the act has been committed, by that time it has taken, and then the chances is that you may only be able to get one out of many. But when you put in preventive system, what it means is that you are going to prevent about 90% from even getting access. Maybe 10% may be bold to dare the system, but at least majority will naturally be prevented. So as Africa, we can do well in Africa's development if we invest in preventive measures. And internal audit is a good tool, to invest to prevent corruption. Why are we saying that? When you put in the necessary controls, what it means is that internal audit has not just the capacity, but they also have the authority, similar to that of the external audit. So currently in Ghana, we have our Internal Audit Act. We are taking it to Parliament to see how we can give them more authority to be able to independently assert themselves, because currently the practice is the internal auditors have become part of the system. So they don't have power per se. So you just have to rely on, like Mr. Ganawa said, people, the leadership that is forward-looking, leadership that wants to push for transparency. And we cannot leave certain things to chance. So I think that Sierra Leone should also consider investing in internal audit so that controls are robust, so that it prevents even the crime from happening or the misappropriation from even occurring. And included in that, I also want to talk about procurement. You know, when you look at the auditor's report, one of the areas that have always come up as a challenge has to do with procurement. And the World Bank gave some data that about 70% of our budgets go into procurement. Meaning, if procurement has become an avenue of fleecing our revenues, it means we also need to put in proper systems to be able to strengthen our procurement so we can prevent some of these challenges. So Ghana is currently, we have what we call the Ghana Electronic Platform, which is an electronic procurement platform that provides access to citizens. We are not there yet, it's new, we are rolling it out. Fortunately for us, we have the, as part of our IMF commitment, to see how we link our electronic procurement platform to the payment system, which is what we call it GIFMIS. How do we link the two so that you are not only procuring, in payments is also linked, and that would also be a way of checks and balance. So I think Africa, we need to invest in preventive systems, and that will be a good way for us to fight corruption and also get value for every penny or leon that we put in development.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you and let bring Cam Ghana into the conversation. I know sometimes back, the Anti-Corruption Commission, they do system review now ministries then, and then system review they know them they do, ensure say they guide auditors and guide the institutions for ensure say they able for work with, you know, in line with the policy. And some of them ministries and agencies, and we find out say for the past 2 years, the auditor reports they come out, they seem for the get a right, and we mean say like we Madam been to talk about putting the system in place, and so that we can able for prevent, you know, corruption into certain area. And but let me look into that and how them process anything for the help, and with the recommendation and put together, how we hope government, the institutions involved, able for work towards that, and they will get a right.
So as you rightly mentioned, Auntie Betty mentioned about investment in preventive measures. So the government don't need make some headway in terms of the investment in technology, ICT, because one way for able for checkmate then and two ICT wherein whosoever we get interest in can then is able for know waiting they happen. Understand? But I think the challenge what they get na the country, firstly, with regards to most of the platforms and people always say system they down. When they say system they down, they use paper. Whether the system they down now and they down, no they know. Because you know to magic man them. You understand? So they use paper. In that process, a lot of things they happen. But when it comes to institutions, we decide for you systems and processes, even if it is not ICT. Let's just take example like the Ministry of Transport and Aviation as a case study. We're now one of the ministries that you talk about, we do extremely well. You know, thing that the saga be there around the 100 buses some years back. As a result, that we make all the institutions that open the IPA, Ministry of Transport and Aviation. When you look at Ministry of Transport and Aviation, they ensure say, because we don't reach date in terms of the investment in ICT, for ensure we get a system where all and only in 24 hours for everybody for able to get access to, then decide for utilize the tools and the instruments that we did now will be provided to them by the state authorities. So what thing they do, like when they talk about procurement, you know, procurement, you will follow the process and you still thief. Now one new avenue now where people are go into now. So then I be accountants, but now the business now don't go into procurement. So I want one procurement officer because they say that the money day. You know, now one country this way, people they celebrating that the money day. I don't know how the money day. Now you salary na the money or because as a procurement officer, how much they pay you? You na the money day. It's not about the money day now because loopholes and the day for thief. So when it comes to even with ICT, now people the input.
Exactly.
You know, I keep on saying then things here. Say, no matter the investment we will put in all of them things here, the integrity of people managing public posts, understand the fiduciary component of the country should be top notch. Because now people they enter. Now just like women are lecturer, at the enter grade. If it's somebody out of mistakes, at times you want to enter 10, you enter 15, or you enter 8. Now mistake, person say you go over, they say no, this one I don't make mistake. So people that we corrupt, we get the tendency for cheat the system, understand? They always use now one day for still circumvent waiting they happen. So I think say, in as much as we invest in now one day, now we'll get a situation where the Auditor General be mentioned something to we yesterday, when the cost of this thing, for example, 20,000 for this. This thing will cost 20,000. When you choose for invest into where they cost you 20,000, the actual price will be recorded. The actual cost is 20,000, but you record 100,000. You come, auditor come, and you see supporting documents that show say the cost of this is 100,000, but the actual cost for it is what? 20,000. So you don't see auditor the can't see. If the auditor not choose, if you not get the drive or the instinct not even say no, let's just do a third party audit on this for and waiting at the price for her. You find out say at the end of the day, this particular thing will cost 20,000. The auditor they record as if everything okay. That's now one major problem. So people they always make sure say they double the prices only they charge. But when it comes to all of this, we go to refer to as punitive measures. Then. You know, me now once we can pin me when they say this thing costs 100,000 units. Me, the economist, I no time value for money. This if I buy this 100,000, I take the money, I chop. The way it come back, they can say I pay 100,000. The time when I be 100,000 for this thing, I don't chop the money. If I buy this thing as I need 150,000, we know inflation over 40%. So it means that like 150,000 I need now, but I get 100,000. But now we forget about even the time value for money. If it is service delivery, you know, one or two people in life they will go down there at risk, or even don't die because of you selfish desire for just take this money and eat it. So in terms of systems and processes, understand, I keep on saying we should have punitive measures, and we need for move beyond just this. Another thing we need for concentrate on, David, the issue of we need for the do to refer to as quarterly assessment on all of WMDs. That is a resources. I'm like a cost center now, but I'm telling you for the do the benefit they outweigh the cost. We this part I know they say we wait for the entire year done. We will improve on internal audit. All of them things here and I think so they help. But I think say in as much as we do them things here, we the citizens we need to get a platform. Anti-corruption gets a platform where you're able for sense information. If for example David they work Ministry of Education, David na procurement officer. The salary you David they gets per new loans na 500,000 units, we per old loans na 5 million units. Then you see David they live extraordinary life. This country, all that we know we safe. Of course. We know. Understand? If you they get 500,000 units, they will see you live some kind of big life. I think say when we talk about citizen involvement, that person big life where they live, you don't know say now you picking in education they deprive. Books away for good day, not the good day. School feeding program for go, not the good day. But you still comfortable with it, you call it. Now the country so they call it. We admire people where we know say this one not waiting they earn they live with. Now thief in the thief. But now they enjoy in office so. You need to live good life in office. You don't say this man salary you not do for him. So then things they need for the come up where for they do the quarterly assessment on different offices fiduciary issues and then for concentrate on. Because you get some people outside they nothing they eat. Not just in salary. But those are the people who say this is not serious. You don't work na government ministry for the past 30 years. No better thing able to do. Other man they say in salary in 500,000 units, they get 4-5 houses there. Will they celebrate 10 people in there? So I think say the issue of quarterly assessment should be done on people working in fiduciary sections or units in different organizations. That's going for help for improve on the issue of accountability. Service delivery, and also I mentioned that yesterday about performance audit. You know, financial audit fine. Financial audits normally, the cook can happen, you don't even for notice. Because somebody will give you the receipt to mention this. But when it comes to performance audit, they look at service delivery. I think say we for put more effort on our end. If you get more people, we get more audit on performance. You look at education, for example. You decide I just want to look at the teacher attendance. You do so a audit on that. You didn't know what's in the value for money. They are paying teachers when they even go to the classroom for teach. At the end of the day, you picking the left every day. You as a poor parent, you suffer for getting lunch for Giam transport. You go to school all day, it's no learning not take place. But at the end of the day, government is spending huge amount of money to pay these teachers. But if we go, you watch the voucher, then we should say everything, okay, the man and pay and salary is signed, these sort of things they happen. Because of financial audits, most of we emphasis in the performance audits, then are the way for go. As a country, like the kind of nature, also the say corruption not be embedded in the lives of so many people within our public service. I think say performance audits will be key. Let we just ensure so we get them performance audits where they happen, not on an annual basis. On a quarterly, we just look at one sector, but this will always refer to as whistleblowing. We the citizens get a responsibility for the blow some things into the public. Just for let people aware, say then sector are this. So audit service in a good office can say, okay, this particular sector, they get so many complaints. Now, what would you do? Now we go and go do performance audit in real time. Service delivery, if you book them for Canada, books and all the IGR, they do so many surveys. When you go to the field, you see some of the data different from what you see in the public documents there. But we know they do them things here because we just believe in the normal thing. We say people and then are criminals. We say people and the way just feel them for the beat the system. You need for the think above them. And how you able for think above them? And for make sure say you always they do the right things in terms of going there shocks them. Because what thing they do now is status quo. Even when we talk say for strengthening some of the institutions there, even the internal audit, we will strengthen them, but still we get people within them places and they will give power. And then they say, okay, since I get power, now I connive with them. Then things only happen. So it means we know they just work on the ICT, work on the independence of some of the institutions there. We still need to go beyond that if we really want to get results. Because there is no way government will spend plenty money, donor money, people in the suffer about them, taxpayers' money that they count on our country. Or they count on few people they enrich themselves and the general populace they suffer. You get some areas and now maybe to say even the roads and the neighborhood do. Because money, the money what government they put into recurrent expenditures there. Or for the undertake some capital expenditure projects there. But not able because the day-to-day activities are too much. So when government puts some money then into the people of the country for able for realizing benefits here where government is spend money. Nobody cut tax for me, even electricity challenge and government contracting them. People need for the investigate government contracting. We need for monitor and see. Some of the contracts are bad. You get few people and they enrich themselves as against the entire nation. The mining sector way for if you look at figures statistically, now like nothing absolutely good not they happen to Salone for the mining industry. Exactly. I remember the last time we host somebody where the Minister of Mines now where be the NM Matthias in one of the Economic Association forums. When a man did this statistic, you feel bad about the country in terms of what they get as inputs towards the economy. Now, like nothing not good for right home about. Let me check them contracts in it. That is for another discussion. But just they say we always need information, say the integrity component because. My country this able to say, I remember the last and the former president, they come with attitudinal and behavioral change. The same body, the same institution they make, then just give them, say, they manage the 60th anniversary. They mess up. The 50th anniversary or 60th, I don't even remember. The 50th, yes. Them say they manage, they mess up. So you really see, people know they can't preach them thing here. What thing they do is really bad. So it makes a lot of sense for we continue for invest. Now we also get civic education and then we younger generations. Then we tell them about love for country. We need to love this country. Because if you don't get love for country, no matter what you do, you always go find a way for labor force and play with the figures and do something for make you benefit. And at the same time, government gets a responsibility. now things tend to get worse off every other day. So one of the things can push people, and not an excuse for them to be corrupt.
Yeah.
It's when waiting they pay you, it's so small for you to take care of your family, even for yourself. So I think the government also gets a responsibility. In as much as we push, the CSOs go push for like we will forget something. But at the end of the day, government self need for upping game in terms of the conditions of service of people who work at the public sector, so that we not expect anybody for like your excuse, say because they pay you small means you defraud the nation. But at the end of the day, we want to forget the situation where government for try in difficult situations and look into the conditions of the people who work at the public sector, and that could help in reducing the level of what corruption and level of backwardness we are seeing as a country.
Okay, we are trying to round up because of time, but yesterday and some other days, we get engagement with the ministries, the higher education and the basic, and also the Ministry of Health. So how that engagement help in terms of letting ministers then they understand, how we for implement issues surrounding the audit report and also fight against corruption.
So I want they will get a very good one where in the Minister of Education they even make a policy statement say the performance of 81% now by the next time that they audit, why they perform now because they get a strong leadership. Exactly. At that time it was the Minister of the current Minister of Chief Minister was the minister at that time. He said that because they get the support of leadership 100%, they allow anything within the internal control mechanism say that they follow an hook, line and sinker without any adjustments being done. Understand? So in terms of commitment, the commitment is there, and the internal auditors within I even observe even from Health, Ministry of Health, the internal audit team, I think, say they're on top of, because they perform abysmally bad. Now they don't go up to 71%. Even though they're not okay with the 71%, we get some rank on that one, because then they say some report, they don't do some uptick when not in the report, but now they know that the public domain, we get some those sort of things. But what is important here is that you are seeing some commitment from those two sectors where we believe certain sectors and if they do well, then will serve as an example. Where other ministries are now going to watch now. You know, if you health they perform so, abuse in transportation and aviation as a good performer. One way they perform badly now and they top notch. If you health and education they perform at 81 and 71%, that could serve as a benchmark for other MDs and for improve on their uptick. And not to just for improve. You can improve on there, but for ensure say we get value for money.
Yeah. Okay. So as we round up, Madam Binti, so what should we do now in order to get things right? You know, as a nation, and moving forward, and how we should be able to work in the interest of the people, more especially of transparency and accountability, and ensure what audit service put out. We should be able to implement them and work within the framework in order to ensure that we have things right.
Okay, so we first have to look at attitudinal and mindset change. People should not see public service as avenues to enrich themselves. People should not come into public service thinking that that is the only way to make money. We should be able to empower the private sector in a way that citizens can genuinely make genuine money in the private sector, and then they will not have any hindrances. You don't have to be aligned to a political party or know somebody in government before you can genuinely do good business. If we are able to create that kind of environment, then it also opens the avenue for citizens to have options. But where there are limited options, then it's also pushed people who are desperate to see that public sector is the only avenue to enrich themselves. And we attract people who are not people of integrity. But as we have also recognized, there are good people in public service who are working genuinely, who should also be motivated. For instance, in Ghana, we started something called Integrity Awards, which our member organization is launched. And it's also to recognize people in public sector who are doing well. Because we always talk about the bad things that is being done. But if we don't complement it by incentivizing and encouraging those who are doing well, they also get fed up because sometimes the system becomes a challenge to them and they have nobody to encourage them. So it's important for us to recognize people who are doing well, encourage them, incentivize them, and make them champions of integrity in the public service. And that, for me, is a good way to go. Additionally, as I said earlier, sanction is important. When people flout the rules, we need to have clarity. We need to ensure that the rules, when they are flouted, people are paying for whatever rules they flouted. If we let it, like we allow people to just do things their own way, there's no motivation to do right. Human beings may not be saints. We have some tendencies. That is why we put in rules. That is why we put in mechanisms to monitor. So I believe that we need to put all these things. And also, we also need citizens and civil society to work together. How are civil society? We don't have to see civil society as competitors. We need to see civil society, all of us, as working for the common good of the ordinary citizen. So we need to work together. We need to synergize our efforts and resources to be able to champion issues of national interest. Issues of national interest should be center page for every civil society. You may not be working in health, you may not be working in education, but where there are issues that affect health and education and is of national interest, we all have to come together. And Ghana, we are demonstrating that. Where we even put out joint press releases, we are doing that as civil society, and it's working, you know. And when you do that, you send a good signal to government that we are championing collective efforts. For instance, when the current Auditor General, we felt that he was failing to exercise his mandate of disallowance and surcharge, we came together as civil society and citizens under a citizens coalition, and we went on the street, you know, to go and express our disapproval for the fact that he's not exercising that mandate. So these are efforts that we need to put in. And then the final one, I want to also encourage citizens about whistleblowing. Citizens, we are the ears, the nose, and the eyes of the fight against corruption. We have the information, we know what is going on in the system. But if we are not able to report corruption, we are not able to provide the needed evidence. Some institutions, they want to fight corruption. And my brother, corruption doesn't happen in the open.
But sometimes the challenges,
so there's no evidence.
Which I agree with you, but also the fear of people. You know, and
the victimization.
If you want to become a whistleblower, you should be able to. You know, they should be able to protect you in giving out information.
Exactly.
That's also a challenge.
Exactly. So Ghana's whistleblower law gives protection to the whistleblower, even if up to the point that if you have to even be relocated from Ghana, or even if your identity has to be completely changed, the whistleblowing law gives that opportunity. And we also have the witness protection law as well that gives that. And we also think that when people trust and test the institutions, that is the only way we will know if the institutions are robust enough. Because until we do that, we cannot actually ascertain if the institutions are working. So it is incumbent on citizens to try it. And in Ghana, we also have an award system. The Office of the Special Prosecutor, if you're able to report corruption and they're able to recover monies, they give you a percentage. So that is like free money for people. You don't even have to go and do corruption. All you need to do is to provide the evidence. And the Office of the Special Prosecutor protects you, and they're able to recover. You get money for that. So these are ways that people should be able to participate. I also want to finally close with the issue of asset declaration. You know, when people are coming into office, it's important for us to know how they are coming in. And this should be clearly documented in way. And we have been championing that in Ghana, that we need to have a robust asset declaration regime that has verification, that has publication, so that when you come into government and you are indebted, we should know. When you come into government and you only have, this is all you own, we should know. You don't come into public service to now enrich yourself or declare assets that are false because there's no verification, because nobody is going to check. You write things in anticipation of coming to make wealth. And that is why people are able to come into public office and enrich themselves. If we have a good asset declaration regime and robust one, I think that will also be another avenue of a check and balance to prevent corruption. But as I said, citizens have the voice, they have the power, they have the mandate. They should exercise it, they should demand accountability, and they should ensure that governance works for them and not for the political people they appoint into office. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ganawa.
So, in closing, I get two things that I want to say. I want to re-echo the issue of punitive measures. People, they involve themselves into any form of corruption. People, we know they adhere to the audit recommendations. Even though we don't get a document now, we don't bind everybody. As long as you ministry adhere to the audit recommendation, Ministry of Finance, they all is subvention, and the all key personalities then are the institutions and they to account. And we for make sure say people we know they do them, know they deliver service, we them for deliver and get punitive measures. I think say jail terms, and I think we me think say you pay them and they lock you for precedents. You know when they do one person thief this, then do another one day, the next person they go free. If you try and back, you see them all and also now one because alone we law then normally the day we them put them. Now it work. Then you first 2-3 people they all and they suffer. After that, the thing go to normal factory setting. Now then I want to will for work on. And the second thing I with regards the fear for no say anybody when they give appointment. They not give appointment because you want green Sabina one day. Other Sierra the week into now one day. Now favor now you the country look and you say they can serve. So if you have a responsibility for serve. You get one thing you always know, say, you get a code, you get a conscience. If you train for succeed today, you begin and probably then will fall into now education, say you don't make bad. If you succeed for make you begin travel, go out of this country, for go land book with corrupt money, there is every likelihood say where you begin get for come tomorrow for can replace you and that's how you did. Now attack you go get by the time that the Russian for can go na one of the medical facilities then now we they will die because you don't get a proper system we put in place. So one thing we for always know as Sierra Leoneans, that we believe say nobody know they come out aside for can make the country. And we no more for make this country. So even if we play with them, we continue for play with them for the next 100 years, Salon go there, Usai this for the next 100 years. So you will get an opportunity for serve in the interest of the country, not just for you own better one. You can still become a better person, a successful person, beside you not thief. You know, now eagerness for we get money, then not the problem. You go see somebody, young man, don't come to university. It don't take person 30 years for developing career for like reach you side this. So you just come out, you want for drive, they must call the man the drive. We need for belief say everything at this one process. We get a career, not develop a career. Anybody will develop a career, you must succeed. Not to forget 5, 10, 15 houses are the thing. It's about you living a fulfilled life where you help for no say salon, you pull on from this level to another level as your own contribution. If the younger people decide for take that day on board, you find out say salon will better. And this I don't care. You know, for the speak to the politicians. Then people don't make them live good life now. Some of them they live better life before this time. So let we speak to them. Whether you tribesman, you region man, make sure say you speak to them. Let you say the status quo not fine. Let we change this country. Because nobody know they come out Ghana, no they come out America for can make salon better. If we not make them better, all to go deep and grumble and things get worse every other day, and people know they take care for the serious. So let we believe in ourselves and know say we will go for change this country.
Thank you very much, Ganawa and Madam BT. Sorry, there are a few comments, but because of time, we can't allow you guys to respond. But I will take them quickly. Swissman is saying, Madam, asset declaration is not working in Sierra Leone. People come into office without asset declaration after they have worked and forward the state in 5 years. You will see our radical politicians come out and ask the anti-corruption head to impose asset declaration in fixed style. Our government officials are fake and corrupt, madam, and with corruption we can never develop.
Exactly.
Content Jimmy says, I like the whistleblower law the lady is talking about. Kabia Centrally says, if the amount of ideas we preach every day is equivalent to the amount of job we do in the country, everyone will be okay. Content Jimmy Guinea says, Francis Ben Kilfala, you need to look into this particular program today, September 27, 2020, very educative. Thank you very much. Abubakar Kumai says this is no accountability. Yeah, it says there is no accountability in Sierra Leone in all the ministries. Too much hypocrisy, friendship, family members corrupt too much. Eddie Grant says the young man is grounded in his field. Well, now the comments I will get. So because of the time, I can't allow you guys to respond. But I think they are. I'm also, in line to the conversation, and which is very good. That is to say people are following up more, especially when it comes into corruption, because that is actually eating Sierra Leone seriously as well in terms of development.